All right, this is our second unit. It's on ecosystems and population change. There's two topics in this section, and we're gonna start off on the first one, which is on ecosystems and biodiversity, or diversity. So these are the things that you should know sort of by the end of this section, and it is defining species, population, community, and ecosystem, and explain their interrelationship among them. Explain how terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems support a diversity of organisms. Identify biotic and abiotic characteristics and explain their influence on aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. Explain how limiting factors influence organism distribution and range, and then explain the fundamental principles of taxonomy and binomial nomenclature. That's a lot of stuff, but don't worry, it's not too difficult and we'll get through it. So starting out, we need to, our first I can statement is looking at what a species, population, community, and ecosystem are. And basically that is separated into a hierarchy. A hierarchy is sort of like the biggest things are on the top, I guess, and it brings us down to the smallest. It's sort of a level or some sort of system, I guess. And ecology has this hierarchy in which ecology is the study of ecosystems, communities, populations, and the biotic and abiotic factors that influence them. And if we talk about what abiotic and biotic is, just to write this, biotic is living things. Think of bio, that means living, and abiotic is non-living. And just to refresh or to explain this a little bit more is that abiotic was never living. So something that's dead, like if a bird dies, it's still biotic. It's still part of that biotic. It was once living. Non-living things have never lived, okay? And when we talk about those things, in the sense of Western science, we talk about something that's living or non-living. When we talk about it in the sense of like Cree culture, we might look at biotic and abiotic things in a little bit different, and you might think of things as, or in Western science, we think of things that are non-living. Maybe an example might be a rock. Well, in Cree culture, we might think of that in a bit different way. We might think that a rock maybe has a spirit or something connected to it. So when we think about that, I guess, biotic and abiotic don't really fit into the traditional Cree culture. But in the sense of this Western science, literally living means has cells, I guess, and non-living it really doesn't. So the hierarchy that exists in ecology, the biggest part of this hierarchy is the ecosystem. It says a community of living organisms and the non-living components of their environment. So this is really everything, all the living and non-living things together. This is really the environment, okay? This is our biggest sort of section. Within an ecosystem, we can have communities, and communities are an interacting group of populations of different species within a given area, okay? So if we look, ecosystem could be like the earth, and then within the earth, we might have a section of spots. So let's say we're gonna look at the mountains. So on the mountains, we have different species living there, living and non-living, and they're all living in the mountains. Then within the mountains, or in that community, we could have a population. And our population is a group of individuals of the same species living in a specific area. So within the mountains, we might have rams, I'm gonna say. So a ram population might live there. So a bunch of rams live in the mountains. And then within that population of rams, we have individuals. So if we're looking at a specific ram, so one ram, okay? So that's sort of how it goes down from the biggest thing, which is our biggest section, to our smallest. And as we go down that hierarchy, it becomes more and more specific. Oops. Okay. Well, I'll give you an example. I guess they're giving you another example, my example as well. So at an ecosystem level, what biotic and abiotic factors are at play? If we look at this aquatic ecosystem, so what are all the different things, biotic things? We've got fish, flies, we've got different plants, we've got sediment, we've got cattails, we've got the sun. There's so many different things there that are playing a part. At the community level, how do populations of different species interact with one another? Well, we've got predator and prey, we've got competition, so competition might be for food, maybe this guy is trying to get the same food as this guy, so who's going to get the food? There's symbiotic relationships, so some things depend on others. At a population level, which factors affect the growth of each population? So if we're looking at specific species, so let's say we're looking specifically at this turtle, I believe, we've got, what are the things that would affect it? Well, how much food it has, the habitat, its mate availability, that's going to affect how many turtles live in the population. If you don't have anyone to breed with, you're not going to have any more baby turtles. Depending on how much food is available, whether they'll live or not, and then their habitat. Do they have shelter? Do they have that space? Then at an organism level, which adaptations does the individual possess that allow them to have a greater capacity for survival and reproduction compared to others? So how is this turtle, better than the next turtle that lives over here? So how is this turtle going to survive over this one? Okay, so when we're looking at that, we've got to look at an organism level. What is specific about that turtle that helps it to survive? Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I've got to go, but I will come back to this in a bit.